Okay, welcome back. This is going to be Beatmania IIDX Infinitas coming over with Okapi and Factraiser, or Cat for short. How you two doing?
Good. You called it IIDX. That's very funny.
I'm doing pretty good as well.
Well, as you can tell, I'm not too familiar with the game, but this is going to be an awesome showcase. I've seen you, I've been watching you stream it on and off as I've had time to, but I know this is similar to like Dance Dance Revolution, In the Groove, Beat Saber, a couple of other rhythm games. Obviously, with the controller that you have on screen, this is a little bit different, but let's take it off. Kick it off whenever you have time.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. This is the grandfather of all vertically scrolling rhythm games. Well, the sequel to the grandfather.
Yep, I'll go over the history here. So, Beatmania 2DX came out in, I believe it was 1998. It is a sequel series to the original Beatmania, which came out in December of 1997. Beatmania 2DX has 30 different versions in the arcade, and then this is the latest home version of the game available on the PC. It's a cloud release, so you basically sign up for a subscription, and then you get a set of songs in the beginning that you can play, and you have to pay for additional songs, but you have a good selection to work with. This is, so in arcades, as I said, we're currently on the 30th version, which is 2DX 29 cast hour. Don't ask why it's a different number. And this has songs up to the 26th version of the game, with a few from the 27th that were kind of like previous songs. So we're starting off here. This is Seaside Labyrinth by Dirty Androids. Excellent track. This is a fairly hard to This is a fairly hard to time song. So this game actually reads your inputs, and you have 7 keys and a turntable to play with if you're playing single player. There's also a doubles mode, but each note you have different judgments. So you have a flashing great, a good, bad, poor, and you can have those in either direction, like most music games. If you want to get a flashing great, you actually need to hit what would be a 2-frame window at 60 frames per second, or a 4-frame window at 120 frames per second, which is what this game runs at. Nice job.
Thank you. I'm still warming up, so being that close to my PB is actually pretty okay in my book. Yeah, Kat and I have both been playing this game for a very long time. I'm coming up on 18 years now, here in the next few months. And I think she's been playing about the same length of time.
Yep.
So we've been around the block.
Time.
Yeah, I've taken breaks from the game here and there, so it hasn't been constant, but this has been a game that's been part of my life for most of my life at this point.
Yeah, same. Like, it's come and gone with how much I've played it, but it's always been some level of a constant. And we're sticking with the topical songs for a Team C's marathon.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about, so this is Mermaid Girl. It is a very popular song by Ryustar. Maybe some people have heard it. One of the things I wanted to say was that originally Beatmania was a 5-key and a turntable game, and it became a 7-key and a turntable game with this release. There are 12 different difficulties in the game, so there's 1 through 12, and then there's different difficulty modes for each song. So you have like beginner, normal, hyper, another, and then there's one that's only available in the arcades called Legendaria. And also, you have different grades you can get based on your result. So you have everything from an F up to a AAA, which is the best grade you can get. If you look down at the bottom underneath where the notes are, you'll see the groove gauge, which is your life bar. You actually need to be in the red to clear the song at the end of the song, which is 80% or higher. So Olivia is really good at this game. She can play up to the highest difficulty, 12s. She's been working hard over the past year trying to get much better at this game, and I've seen her grow a lot since I kind of got in contact with her last year when she was playing, I think mostly like, I want to say like easier 11s maybe?
Yeah, I was just starting seriously playing 11th.
Yeah, and also something that is fairly unique about this game, I think a lot of rhythm games don't do this anymore, but it's actually key sounded. And what that means is you are actually playing sounds in the song, and they come out after you hit the button. So you are essentially making part of the song. There's still a backing track that plays over everything. But if you aren't hitting several notes, you'll notice that that part of the song just isn't there anymore. So it makes it a little more difficult for timing, but it's really cool to be able to listen to yourself just kind of, you know, destroy songs once you get really good at the game.
Absolutely.
There's a 10 key player in the chat. Classic doubles. So yeah, originally Beatmania had a 5 keys and a turntable on one side, and eventually they introduced a mode where you could play both sides. You had a 10 key mode with both turntables. And back in those days, the turntable was on the right on both sides. But when they released Beatmania 2DX, they put the one-player side, or the left side, your turntable was on the left, and then the other turntable was on the right, and it makes it a little bit more easy to get into doubles. The asymmetry was difficult to deal with if you wanted to do that. That's a good point. Olivia is playing this on a controller called a Phoenix One, which is pretty much like the arcade. If you were to go to the arcade and play this game, that's how you would play it, with the specialized cabinet. However, if you want to play 2DX, you can always just use a keyboard. You can use, you know, a Xbox controller, really whatever you want. You can remap it in the game so that it'll work. Also, this song in particular is a throwback to a lot of 5-key songs and videos. There's actually a song from the original game called Papa Yappa Bassa, which this is made in the spirit of, I think.
So I gotta ask, as someone who may be familiar with rhythm games in general, so I grew up on Dance Dance Revolution, for example, and I play a lot of Beat Saber now. How hard is it to get into Beatmania?
How much time are you willing to put into it? That's really the question.
Yeah, I think this is a game that takes a long time to get good at, but it's not very difficult to just start playing. It doesn't have a steep learning curve like a lot of older rhythm games do. It's actually pretty linear. So you could, if you wanted to play like on keyboard and start playing 2DX Infinitas, this version of the game, you could probably hop right in, and within like the first few songs, if you were playing ones, you could probably pass at least, you know, 50% of the charts. And then you just kind of work your way up that way. At the high end, this is one of the harder rhythm games. I wouldn't say it's, you know, one of the hardest ever, but it's very difficult, and it used to be notorious for how difficult it was because there wasn't a good path to the hardest songs in the game, but that's kind of changed in the recent years. It's also kind of hard to compare to dance games like DDR, and I actually haven't played Beat Saber yet, so I don't know exactly how I would compare it to Beat Saber either. And does Beat Saber actually check your judgments on each note? I forgot.
It does. It's very hard to see because of the way that there's so many particle effects in your face. I know that some of the higher level Beat Saber players can definitely see, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing on these checks. From what I understand, the checks are lenient, and it does depend obviously on the power of your VR set. So if you have a less than powerful VR set, you may be hitting those notes later or earlier than you're intending to. But if you have a really good VR set, then obviously you can get really accurate really quick.
Yeah, gotcha. This game is more about timing, I'd say. A lot of the top players can time like really hard songs very well. So it's much less oriented to like, oh, can I pass this song? But that is still a big part of the game, especially as you're still working your way up the difficulties. It's a bit of a different focus from something like Guitar Hero, from what it sounds like Beat Saber is like. And even for, you know, for dance games where a lot of it is stamina intensive, this game is not as stamina intensive as a lot of other rhythm games. So you really just have to focus on your timing.
-7.
Yeah, I know at higher levels, and I do mean higher levels, Dance Dance Revolution gets from a point of being stamina intensive to actually being very technical.
Yeah, if you look at like really high level players, a lot of them will be very good at timing, like in DDR, the equivalent of, you know, the 15 to 17 range, but 18s and 19s are still extremely stamina intensive, and you'll even see the best players in the world kind of have to sit down after playing those songs once to recover energy. This really isn't like that too much. All right, so this is... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was talking more about, like, if you go back to, like, even, like, easier songs like 9s and 10s, people, instead of trying to go higher up, would try to double and triple A those songs.
Oh, yeah, I think there's a lot of push towards timing easier songs in dance games as well. It's kind of like... It's interesting to see the difference between how people focus on the different difficulty levels in dance games versus this, because in this, you don't see a lot of people really working towards high scores on like difficulties lower than 10. Usually it's just 10, 11, and 12 get the focus, which is kind of like the equivalent in dance games of like maybe like 13, 14, and up in DDR. So the harder stuff. But that's not the case for everybody. There are some players that will try and go for like the best possible score on easier songs.
I know right now...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to trip over you. I know right now for me, on Beat Saber, I'm trying to work my stamina back up to the range that I was used to on Dance Dance Revolution. So just trying to rebuild my stamina at this point is where I'm at.
Oh yeah, I've definitely had to do that many times. It's not as bad in this game, but there is a different skill that you'll have to like de-rust on. It's called density. So the way you read huge sets of notes, like bunches of notes in songs, is kind of a key part of this game. And if you step away from the game for, you know, even a week or two, you can lose a lot of that progress. So you have to take a session or two to just work that back up. This game is really cruel in that regard, but generally if you want to have a good time, you can just play the game and not worry about that, because that's only like a thing that you lose when you get into the highest difficulty, the 12 stars.
Timing just refuses to lock in all of a sudden.
So yeah, that song that Olivia just played was Rootage. It is it's kind of the title song of the 26th game in the series.
And now we're playing Karasu, which is the same thing for Shinobu's, the 24th version.
Oh, is it? What day is this?
I think it's just considered the overall game.
Huh. I don't remember hearing it in the background, but I also kind of checked out when Sign of Buzz was happening, so...
I mean, it has a bird on screen, so it has my approval.
Yeah, so Karasu is Japanese for crow. This is a 11. It's kind of technical. It's got a lot of 16th note runs in here with chords. And you also have... so Olivia's playing this on Random, which is a chart mod. I guess I should talk about those. So in Beatmania 2DX, generally, once you get to a higher level, you start using different chart mods instead of just playing the charts the way that they kind of come out on the game. So there's multiple different ones. There's Random, which randomizes each lane. So let's say you have the bass drum in lane 1. If you turn on Random, that bass drum can go to lane 5, and it'll stay there for the whole song, just like it would be if it was on 1 in the old chart. Doesn't randomize every note. If you want to randomize every note, you can do that. That is called super random. And you'll get a lot of what we call jackhammers, which are notes that come up in a row many times very quickly. But sometimes S random is a little bit better than random. It depends on the different charts. There's also R random, which is short for rotational random, which will scoot over the set of lanes. So that, you know, if that bass was on 1 and then you had the kick on 2, maybe it'll scoot it over by 1, so now the bass is on 2 and the kick is on 3, and all the other notes will scoot over 1 as well. And then there's, you know, no chart mod, which we call non-random, and then mirror, which is non-random except flipped. So a lot of this, the high end of the game where you're trying to learn how to time songs better and get good grades on them, is learning what chart mods to use on everything.
Well, here's our donation incentive for everyone who's waiting for it.
Yeah, like people wanted to hear the Goofy Money song, so we're gonna play the Goofy Money song. The theme from 2DX Gold. The Goofy Money style.
Yeah, awesome that we got this incentive done.
This song is so good.
I like it. It's so good.
I come on a boat as a mess.
Yeah, in the middle of this song, you're going to hear a series of all of the 2DX mixes up until this song came out, which was 14. Here we go. Very excited about 2DX Gold.
Oh, is that the next one that's coming out?
No, that's the guy yelling in the background yells 2DX Gold, because that was the name of this mix, the 14th mix of the game.
That's my Twinkie. Rest in peace, Mike Lolomode.
Very nice PB, by the way.
Thank you. I haven't played that in a hot minute, so thank you everybody who donated to make that happen.
Yeah, dude, thank you everyone so much. I really enjoyed that. That was very memey.
That actually is a giant running joke in the community. Like, we all love that song. Some of us ironically, some of us not. Like, I think it's like a very guilty pleasure, Bob. So
All right, so this is a cool one. Go ahead.
I do like Okapi. It's a good song. Oh, I need to restart because I just accidentally changed the channel on my TV.
Oops.
I play on a 120 hertz smart TV, so occasionally things like that happen. We're good now.
All right, so this is an interesting song to talk about. There are exclusive songs to this PC version of the game. This is one of them, and most of them came in a pack called the Pop Music Pack, which is another Konami rhythm game. And they crossed over a whole bunch of songs from Pop Music to 2DX and the other way as well. So there's a bunch of exclusives in the PC version of Pop Music, which is called Pop Music Library. And yeah, this song is really fun. It's got a really good chart. Pretty difficult 10 to time. Also, I should talk about these longer notes that come up are called charge notes. These are actually a special type called hell charge notes, yeah. But in short, basically, you have a long note where you press at the beginning of the note, you have to hold it down, and then at the end of the note, you actually have to time when you let go of the button so that it ends as the note ends. So it has two timing pieces to it. And I think most rhythm games don't have that anymore. It used to be a thing in, I want to say like the early 2000s with a lot of the key games like O2 Jam, DJ Max. You had to release at the right time. Olivia's doing really well in this right now.
Awkward sequence at the end. Sometimes random gives you some challenging patterns that you have to figure out, and you only have a quarter of a second to figure out how your hands are going to move to hit them. At least to the scroll speed that I play at.
Yeah, random is kind of the key to getting better at the game at a high level because you expose yourself to a lot of different patterns. So all the stuff you're bad at kind of comes back at you and you have to learn how to deal with it rather than, you know, playing to your strengths.
I can't spell. Alright,
this is Sequence Cat.
Shoutouts to Cat's Cat Sequence.
So my cat, we named him Sequence. I think we got him like 4 years ago. He is hopefully being quiet in another room with my partner right now, but he's a handful, but he's a very cute boy.
And my controller just died for a moment there.
What happened?
Controller.
The Phoenix 1.0 electronics happened.
So you were going too hard, basically.
Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, let's try it again.
So this is also by a collaboration of two artists, Slake and LED. And Slake is kind of a love it or hate it artist in the 2DX community. I personally love Slake. I think he's made some of the best music in the game, but a lot of people just cannot stand his music. Also, this is a really cool chart. It has this like long section of just 16th stream, and then it cuts out about halfway through, and you have this really like fast, streamy section that gets faster and faster and faster and kind of builds to this climax. And then the rest of the song, you have a little bit of a 16th chord stream to finish it off. So it's not one of the easier 11s, but it is nonetheless a lot of fun to play.
I gotta ask, is this a game where the songs are accessible to any level, or are the songs kind of locked into a difficulty level, so you can't play certain songs until you get good enough to play them?
You'll be able to play anything you want to if you have access to the song, but if you're talking about being able to clear the song or do well at the song, it takes a lot of practice. Some of them have beginner difficulties, but not all songs do. And beginner is locked into like difficulties 1 through 3, which is very easy. I think some of the songs do not have those and have fairly high difficulties on their lowest level. So thinking of one of the songs in the game, Gigadelic is a 9 on the easiest difficulty, and then it's a 12 on the medium one, and then a 12 on the hard one.
Yeah, Contract is like that too. I think Contract is an 8 on normal, and it's actually a fairly hard 8 too.
I think Contract is an 8. So there are a few like boss songs that are like that, but there's generally you'll be able to play most of what you want to play. And it doesn't take that long to get up to like 7, 8, and 9. It takes a long time to get to the 12s and through the 12s, so. Yeah, a lot of them do. It's kind of the exception that the few that don't. All right, so this is Sleepless Days. At the last marathon I was on the mic for, I talked about kind of how people play songs to lock in their timing. This is one of them. This is a really easy song to time just because it's very straightforward, almost all eighth notes. It's got a heavy beat. The sounds that you're playing are nice and loud. That's something I think people take for granted, is sometimes key sounds are a little bit too quiet, but in this song they're a good volume, so you can hear them and you can still hear the backing track. So it's a good track to kind of warm up with and figure out if your timing is there, if you can move up the difficulty to something harder and get into your session, or if you need to spend more time on easier stuff. This is also usually one of the first perfect scores that people get. So you see that max bar next to you see where the grades are, next to where the play area is. There's A, AA, and then AAA. Max is a perfect score. So if you get all flashing greats, you will get a max. And it's very, very difficult to do. Not very many people have gotten maxes. But this is one of the easier ones. Nice PB.
Thank you. Almost got the max minus.
I was going to ask, the high score screen you see on the end here, is this compared to other people that are actually playing these songs live on the internet?
It depends on what you have it set to. I have it set right now to AA, which is kind of a nice safe ground for making it look like I'm competent at the game when I'm playing harder stuff. But you can set it to a bunch of stuff. Like I've got all my rivals here that I can set it to one of them. I can set it to whoever the top rival is. I can set it to whatever my closest rival is. This one is a customizable percent. Then there's world record and personal best and a couple other options that are in there, but it just depends on what you have it set to.
So yeah, if you look at the results screen, you'll see kind of the breakdown of everything on the left, and then on the right, in Infinitas, this version of the game, you can look at your place according to where your rivals are. So that's not everybody, but it does show you whoever you have as your rival. And then also, there is we call it a pacemaker. So Olivia has the AA pacemaker set, as she was talking about. There's a pacemaker that you can set that says, I want to look at the best score on this version of the game, or the best score in this region for this game. And you can look at basically the best people for that. But yeah, it doesn't have a breakdown of everybody on this one.
Let's play more timing songs.
Yeah, so this is another fairly easy to time song, 8-Bit Princess. You'll see some people warming up with this. It is a little bit dense for a 10, actually. It's got over 1,200 notes, which is a lot for a 10-star. But it's very straightforward. This is a song by Saya Mirai, who uses a lot of robotic voices in their songs. This is, I think, one of the best ones, but some people like it, some people don't. Also, I guess I can talk about the bars on the right there. So the blue bar is Olivia's current score. That's how well she's doing. The green bar is her personal best, her PB. And then the red bar is the target, pacemaker, whatever you want to call it. And then you'll see down below that in the text, you can see a more textual representation of those graphs. So yeah, coming to the end of the song here, it's mostly been very straightforward 8th notes with a few 16ths here and there. We're actually going to end the song with a 16th stream. There's a lot going on at the very end, but it is still fairly easy to time, and because there's so much kind of easy stuff before that, it's easy to get a high score on this. You can also see there's an indicator for if you are early or late on each note on the play screen. So you see where it says fast or slow every time Olivia gets anything that is not a flashing great.
Alright, I'm starting to hit a little fast now. I might have to flip my offset back. We'll do that.
I'm used to flashing grades being called perfects.
So they're actually I think in the game's code, they're just called P grades, but originally somewhere somebody called them perfect grades. So that's why you see down in the judge window at the bottom, it says PG. Those are how many flashing grades she's gotten.
Yeah, some of us old heads will also call them just grades because it used to be a just frame input on a couple of songs, so you had one frame to get it right.
I actually don't think that's why they called it that, but that's a good point. It's a good way to
it's a very similar
segue
timing window to just frames in fighting games for sure.
So if anybody has played Beatmania 5 key, you will know that a lot of the charts in that game, you can only get a flashing great on one frame. And that's because of the way that timing windows were kind of baked into each song's chart file. That's not the case anymore. Everything is standardized, so generally you won't have any trouble. Yeah, there's one song that, well, I should say one chart that isn't like that, and that is Gamble Hyper. And that song used to have a single frame great window, and it got changed to the normal 2 frames at 60 hertz once the 20th version of the game came out. And then a few versions later, they got rid of the regular great window. But if you're going for just greats, it's really not that bad to try and get a good score on it. You will get a little bit lower than you'd expect, but it's not too bad. Not as bad as it used to be. Also, this male dancer in the background is named Dai, and the community loves him. He's in the background of so many songs, just dancing his heart out. And most songs have, I don't want to say most, I'd probably say around half the songs have their own video, and then half have what are called generic videos. And some of those will also have overlays, and overlays are just basically PNGs that turn into animations on the background. So very cool.
Yeah, the VGAs are a lot of fun. Sometimes very distracting. Like the VGA for Gamble is like watching someone recreate an episode of Columbo with a handheld camera. It's very funny. They're just chasing the dude through Tokyo. Alright. I had to figure out where I was in the set list. I had to remember how to spell. Spelling's hard.
So, digital thrash punk, Be a Hero. That's a very interesting genre. So Be a Hero is a song that was introduced for the qualifiers for an international tournament that Konami held called Konami Arcade Championship. I think it was for either the 6th or the 7th KAC, as we call it. And it's very difficult to 11.
I can tell.
Yeah, I don't like this random.
Oh, it is very dense for an 11 regardless. But you're still working past your PB, which is good. So about KAC, currently it is suspended because of COVID. However, right now they are trying to get it back going again. And Konami is trying to kind of make a name for themselves in the esports scene with a separate championship called the Beatmania Pro League, which features this game, 2DX. And it's very cool to watch some of the top players play and, you know, measure how far ahead of you they are.
Yeah, I was about to ask if Konami is even still making games. I think the last I was still following the scene was back in DDR Supernova.
Yep, so they've made, I think, at least 10 DDR games since then. So yeah, they've been they've been definitely rolling them out. If you live near what's called a Round 1 arcade in the US, usually they have the latest versions of the games there. If not, you kind of have to be in either Asia or Japan.
And if you only care about EDR data clusters,
Well, not even like DDR, but like I'm thinking Beatmania, obviously, the other games that Konami makes.
So, Konami generally, oh my god.
heartbreak.
So Olivia got 78% there, which is basically like 1 or 2 notes away from being able to pass.
Oh,
But we still got the A.
Yeah, awesome job. You almost matched your PB too.
I mean, I'll take it. But, like, that was a really awkward random. I had a lot of one-handed drilling, which is something that I've complained to Kat about for a very long time. It's one of my biggest weaknesses.
Gotta keep working at it.
I know.
You'll get there. So yeah, Konami is still around. This is, I wouldn't say it's their premier like game series, but it's one of their most profitable. Is Beatmania is in general, which is kind of their rhythm game set. So they're still making all those arcade games, and then they're also trying to bring a lot of them to PC. They're not super accessible if you speak English. You kind of have to look up a guide to how to download them, but Konami will happily accept your money to subscribe to the services and play their games. Other than that, I think they're just doing pachinko and a few like both re-releases of old games that they own property to, and maybe trying to develop some Metal Gear stuff still.
Yeah, it feels like they're kind of in a holding pattern right now, trying to figure out what they actually want to do with their video game arm. Beatmania is kind of its own thing. They don't really answer quite as much as Konami Computer Entertainment does, or whatever the other game dev wing is. They kind of have free pass to do whatever they want. I also turned off random because the song has the greatest pattern at the end, and random ruins it.
Yeah, I prefer R random on this. So this is Dishwasher Oiwa-chan. You can see she's washing dishes eagerly in the background there. It is a... How do I say this? It's kind of a spiritual successor to a old, very difficult song in the original Beatmania called Ska A Go Go. And you'll see at the very end of the song, this chart has the same pattern that Ska A Go Go does, where you have this long roll on 2 buttons, and then you have the snare drum on another button that you have to hit with this roll, and it's super difficult. It's always been like a very tricky song for players to get used to.
How about that little crowd right here?
It's a very interesting song. And yeah, she's very skilled at this game. I don't know what else to say besides that. Oh, some people find this game intimidating just because it's got this kind of very basic gameplay window and it's very difficult and dense. Try not to be too swayed by that. It's not very difficult to get into at the beginning, but it does get hard once you get up to these very difficult 11s and
Here's the
stuff.
roll. Bad chain. Wow.
Yeah, so nice PB.
Thanks. That roll at the end is so satisfying once you figure out how to hit it.
So, those... how did I want to say it? So, what Olivia said was she got a bunch of bads at the end there, and one of the things that is a little punishing about this game is if you have a bunch of notes on the same lane in a row, and you get an... I think it's an early bad. Yeah, if you get an early bad on one of them, what happens is you can keep hitting that button and it'll keep thinking that the next note is the one that you're hitting. So you'll get what's called a bad glitch. And the only way to get around that is to stop hitting that button and miss another note and then get back on beat.
It's really difficult to recover from bad chaining.
Yeah, it's...
Like once you're off, you're
it's
off.
punishing. It's a glitch that's been in the game for a very long time, and Konami is never going to get rid of it because at this point it's a feature. So
Yeah, it just forces you to get to it. All right, now we're gonna play a scratch. All right.
yeah, so Naughty Girl at Queen's Palace is a chart. It's one of the earlier ones actually that is really heavy on scratching, and you'll see in the red lane on the left, that is the scratch lane. So when you scratch, you can scratch the same direction as long as the turntable isn't still moving. So you can keep going like up, up, up. But if you have a lot of them in a row, you have to go back and forth. You can't go the same direction. And this song in particular has a ton of 16th scratches, so you have to go back and forth on them. And just like we were talking about bad glitch before, you can get bad glitches on the scratch lane, and it is a pain in the butt. But Olivia's doing just fine here so far. And the hardest part of the song is coming up soon. A very long section of scratch runs.
Same directions, right? Knock me out.
That is a lot of scratching.
Well, very difficult. And there's still more scratching to come before the end of the song, but that was the hardest part of it.
Yeah, I think I fell out of the rhythm game scene outside of Beat Saber, of course. I stopped playing a lot of Beatmania, which is the emulated version of DDR. Mostly because it was really hard to find music packs that were maintained well. Yeah.
That's still a problem with Stepmania to this day.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like there's a lot of really good high quality packs for playing on pad, but if you're a keyboard player, like if you want to play on Eterna or Quiver or, God forbid, Osu Standard, there's not a lot of good 4-key content out there, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that's a good point. There is a kind of Stepmania version of this game called BMS, or Beat Music Simulator. If you want to, that is a good way to get into the game. I'm not really sure. I don't play too much BMS, but I'm sure there are some very easy packs that you can download with, you know, stuff that you can just kind of start out playing. But what BMS is really known for is extremely dense, very difficult charting, similar to the very hardest songs in this actual game, and even harder than that in some cases.
Oh, this is not right.
You got this.
Oh, no, it's not easy. I just wasn't expecting it.
I don't have too much to say about this song. It's a bit dense. Not too bad for an 11. We've seen some harder 11s already, but it is a bit tricky. It's got these little, I want to say they're like mini streams, mini chord streams during some sections, but they only last for a short time. Oh, I guess I can talk about, I forgot to talk about this last time, but, so Olivia is using a lane cover. You can see the little girl running on it. So what that does is it cuts off part of the play area so that your eyes can kind of narrow in on a specific set of that play area. What that does is it makes sure your eyes don't wander vertically. And personally, I don't use a lot of it. I used to use a whole ton of it, so that most of the gameplay area was covered by that lane cover. But I kind of learned that if you want to time really, really difficult stuff, you kind of have to start moving it back up. Which is what I did.
There's a lot of high-level players that there's a lot of high-level players that play with bare minimum. It depends on what works with you.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you want to be good at, because like one of the best players at really dense, difficult stuff uses a ton of lane cover, and then one of the best players at timing and kind of working on nearly perfect scores on, you know, 8s, 9s, 10s, and 11s uses almost none at all. So you kind of have to make a choice.
I can
This is a great song.
I could see that, you know, being able to sight read and then also not being able to get lost in the notes is kind of where you want that lane cover to be.
Well, it's almost only for that, for keeping your eyes from wandering, because you can move the lane cover and keep the speed of the notes so that they're on the screen for the same amount of time, even though you have, you know, almost no lane cover or, you know, almost the whole thing filled up. Which is cool, because then you don't really have to choose as much. But yeah, as you said, there are some cases where you want to read really fast, and there are other cases where you want to be able to read slow so you know what's coming up. Just like in dance games.
Yeah, I know that when I was getting into higher levels, my biggest difficulty was my sightline getting lost in notes. So I really had to kind of focus on fixing that, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yep. I've been there too. So this chart has a BPM change, so it went from 150 down to 132. Got a little bit slower. And in 2DX, we call that soft land, which is short for soft landing on the body, which was a really old song that had, I think it was 4 different speed changes in it that was notoriously difficult for players.
And none of them were intentional. It was glitched.
So I am being asked how many songs we have left.
According to the set list, we have 4 left.
Okay.
I think Olivia can adjust as needed.
Yeah, I can.
Yep. I was just curious because we're starting to set up the next run already. But with 4 left, I think that's plenty of time.
Yeah. Okay. What are we at time-wise right now?
48.
Yeah, we're coming in right under the wire. Should be able to make that work. All right. Underworld holography.
All right, so this is Shelter of the Mind 2, accepted as Kotoko on the vocals, which is cool.
Yeah, they're both just absolutely amazing vocal drum and bass tracks.
So this is a kind of like I was saying, the spiritual successor to Shelter of the Mind. It's a lot more dense. It's got a lot more chord runs. Very tricky compared to Shelter of the Mind, and it feels like it's much longer, but I could be wrong about that. And any 11 that you see Olivia has only an A on is very difficult. And the artist for this song has been around since the very early days of Beatmania. Probably the longest tenured in-house artist at Konami at this point. For the Beatmania games, anyway.
This random is kicking me all over the room.
Yeah. I mean, you're holding life, though. I think you'll be okay. Also, if you don't like the groove gauge in this game, you can play other ways. There are so many different ways to play. There is what's called easy gauge, where it's a little bit easier to bring your bar up and it doesn't drop down as quickly. There is assisted easy, which brings it down to 60% to clear, and the gauge is just as easy as it is on easy gauge. And then there's also hard gauge, which is like DDR, except you start with a full gauge. So if you go under 2%, you're done. That's it. There's EX hard, which is about 3 times as difficult as hard gauge. And then you could also go for a full combo if you wanted to, and not miss any notes, but you don't have to do that on a specific gauge. And you'll see those next to the number on the song selection screen is a light. We call those lamps. If you see a white lamp next to a song name, that means that Olivia has hard cleared it. She beat it on hard gauge. Alright, so this is Starlight Dance Hall. This is probably the most popular P-Light song in this game. It's pretty tricky. Not too bad for an 11, but it does have some difficult, like, scratching sections, which you'll see coming up soon. Yep.
That was the wrong hand.
I think you did pretty well on those. Yeah, a lot of people really like this song. It came from the 23rd version of the game, Copula, which is about brains. So each version of the game has its own theme as a ninth style. So every mix from ninth style onward has its own theme. Some of them, they don't really tell you what the theme is. Like ninth and 10th style didn't really tell you what it was, and then 11th, which is called Red.
The theme is red.
I mean, you'll know that it's red, but the theme was actually trance. And then everything after that, you kind of know based on what it's called, as long as it's legible English. There's some weird ones like Linkle, which, what the hell is a Linkle?
Yeah, Linkle was like high fantasy themed, which you would not pick up from the name.
Yeah. Nice job on that, by the way.
Thank you. Like everything after the last drop in that song, like where the difficulty just spikes astronomically from where it starts, is just so satisfying to play. It's one of my favorite charts in the game to play non-ram. Alright.
Alright, so you heard Gold Rush. Now you get to hear another meme song, Hat Trick.
And you know what? It'll be spicy.
Oh, you going for EX? Alright. So...
I'll donate $25 if I fail somehow.
Oh my gosh. You got this, don't worry.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no, this is IIDX.
This is another P-Light song. This is pretty memey song just based on the samples. There's this one sample where they yell, "Somebody scream," which is kind of an ongoing joke in 2DX because so many songs used that and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 do-it samples for so many years. The song also has what's called backspin scratches, so you'll see they're long notes, but they're on the turntable lane. Okay, well, how do you hit those? You push the turntable in the same direction, and you just keep going until the end of the backspin scratch. And at the end of the backspin scratch, you have to flip the turntable back the other direction. So you go one way, and then at the very end, you go back the other way.
So I gotta ask, as rhythm players, do either of you play OSU?
I have played Osu Tatakai Oenden, but I have not played Osu now.
Actually, I think that like, I play Osu Taiko, but there's not really any other good way to play it with Taiko systems.
Yeah, I think I predate Osu by quite a bit, and that's probably why. I was playing dance games and Stepmania back before Stepmania was a thing, back in the Dance with Intensity days. If you've ever heard of that simulator.
Nope. I think Stepmania was fairly new when I first got into it. And yeah, I started playing Dance Dance Revolution. I want to say 6th mix was the newest version of Dance Dance Revolution when I got into it.
DR Max!
Yep.
Oh, that brings back some memories, y'all. Alright, how are we doing on time?
Question. We are currently at 56 on the clock.
Okay, might even have time to slide in an encore then. Let's get rid of the X card, because that's not happening. I mentioned this at Really Really Longathon when I was there on Wednesday. Yeah, this is my second marathon in 1 week. I'm insane. And Kat will probably agree with me. This song is all over the place. It doesn't know what it wants to be, but it's happy about it. And I feel like that's a pretty good musical personification of how I am. So I play it every time I go to marathons.
Yeah, and this is my preferred drum and bass style.
Oh, breakcore, so good.
So being a DDR fan, if we get an encore, is there a DDR song in here that we can play?
Oh, absolutely. You want to play Max 300?
No.
Oh, Max 300.
I'll play Sakura.
Sakura? You could do New
Oh,
Decade,
Sakura's good too. Sakura's good too. I like Sakura.
Sakura's probably better, because I think... Have we played a 12 today? No, we haven't. That would be our 12.
Alright, so because we are very close on time, I'm going to say, hey chat, you want to see Sakura? Start donating right now.
Sakura or A. In war, let's go.
I like how somebody in there knows about DWI too. It's good to see.
I vaguely remember it. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been forever. I don't even remember what it looks like anymore.
I never could get it to work on my computer, but I remember like using the file format. The first Infinitas had a built-in editor.
Now people still build files in DWI format. It's funny. I'm not sure why. Actually, I do think I know why. It's because it keeps the files, the file size smaller. Ooh,
Got the double A on marathon stream this time. Let's
awesome
go.
job. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Alright, that's going to put us at just about an hour if I'm looking at the time.
Alright, did anyone donate for Sakura or A?
No one has donated for it.
Alright, well I'm doing it anyway if it's okay with you.
That's okay.
8 style.
8 style.
Yep. So Sakura
Not random.
originally, you probably want to use RRAN or SRAN, not non-RAN.
Oh,
We are
I'll try RRAN.
turning this up just a tad.
Okay. So Sakura is originally from Beatmania 2DX, from 8 style, and it is the one more extra stage. Is it the one? No, it's the extra stage
Yeah,
of 8
it
style.
was the extra stage of 8 style.
Yeah.
And
Very difficult song.
And it has all the speed units as well, too. I don't think I random very well.
I think you got the RRAN where the bass is on the same note, but it mirrors everything else.
Yeah, I did.
Very difficult tracks in this song.
That was hell for my left hand.
Amazing job.
Thank you, thank you.
Awesome job.
All right, cool. So we are starting to overstay our welcome at this point. So, yep, I'm Okapi, Olivia, whatever you want to call me. This is basically the only game I play in stream. Okapi573 on Twitch, Okapi2DX on Twitter. Do not follow me on Twitter unless you are 18. You will not like what you see otherwise. Kat, what you got?
Yeah, thank you for this. Thank you for having us also at this marathon. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming.
It's a lot of fun doing these commentaries for 2DX, so.
Yeah, Kat is also like gassing up my skill a lot. She's Kaiden, I'm 10th Dan. She is a lot better at this game than I am. So
we didn't talk about that, but it's okay.
Yeah, she's better than I am. All right, we're gonna get out of your hair and we're gonna get ready to watch the next round. So thanks again for having us. We'll see y'all in